The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for more than 10,000 years. Hundreds of species, from crystalline beings who shimmered in the void, to floating gas creatures who spoke in hums, gathered in its grand chambers. Together they decided the laws of interstellar trade, peace treaties, and exploration. Yet despite all this power, there was one species that had always amazed the Council more than any other: humanity. Humans were latecomers. They had arrived centuries after the Council was formed, still young in experience compared to the ancient species. But they learned fast. They built starships that could travel farther than anyone had dreamed. They stabilized unstable systems, invented technologies that made life easier for all species, and explored regions of space that had been long abandoned. They were curious, daring, and endlessly creative. The Council admired them, but at times they also found humans unpredictable. The humans seemed small in body, fragile in appearance, but when they acted, they changed everything. Then, one ordinary day, humanity vanished. There were no alarms, no warnings, no distress signals. Every human colony, from the inner planets to the outermost settlements, went silent at once. Communication relays carried only static. Spaceports stood empty. Satellites orbited quietly above Earth, still functional, still transmitting, yet untouched. It was as if every human had simply decided to disappear. The Council did not understand. Panic swept through the chambers like wildfire. Delegates shouted over one another. Fleet commanders called for emergency assemblies. Scientists and historians searched archives, trying to find a clue. "Why would they leave?" demanded the Valari ambassador, her scales trembling with emotion. There is no record of war. No threat. They were thriving. They were helping us. The first fleet sent to the Sol system returned confused. Earth was pristine. Cities hummed with energy. Yet there was no sign of human life. Computers still worked. Artificial intelligence followed protocols. Robots performed maintenance tasks quietly. There was nothing broken, nothing taken, only absence. Among the Council members, a silence fell, not of peace but of awe. The humans had not been chased. They had chosen to leave. The first clue came weeks later. A small probe orbiting Mars picked up an encoded message, a single fragment of the human's intent. It was ancient language, nearly impossible for any non-human to decipher, but the human signature was unmistakable. "We have given you every chance to grow. You relied on us too long. It is time to stand alone." The message was short, calm, and clear. No blame, no anger, just a quiet statement of fact. It was signed with the human emblem, a hand reaching for the stars. Council members read it again and again. No one knew whether to feel insulted, inspired, or afraid. The humans had left not out of fear or failure, but because they had grown beyond the galaxy that had nurtured them. Months passed. The absence of humans began to change the galaxy in ways no one had predicted. Trade routes that humans had built and managed started to collapse. Systems once held in balance by human negotiation now fell into argument. Minor disputes became long conflicts. Ships stalled in orbit because maintenance schedules were missed. Communication networks slowed, then faltered. The galaxy, which had grown used to human ingenuity, suddenly felt fragile. The Council realized too late that humans had not been just participants. They had been the glue. The humans had quietly woven stability across the stars, using intelligence, creativity, and empathy rather than force. Their disappearance was not merely physical. It was structural, emotional, and strategic. The Valari and other elder species debated endlessly. Perhaps they went to another galaxy, one theorized. Perhaps they evolved, suggested another. Some thought it was a test. Humans had always done things differently. Humans never explained themselves fully. Perhaps this was the ultimate lesson. Independence, then came the discovery. At the edge of the Milky Way, sensors picked up faint signals. They were weak and irregular, but unmistakably human in origin. A fleet of ancient ships, long thought to be decommissioned, was moving silently through deep space. They were followed by smaller colony vessels, shielded by shimmering energy fields. Human worlds were traveling together beyond known space. No Council member had ever seen technology like this. The ships moved not with engines alone, but with a quiet force that seemed almost alive. Energy readings were astonishing. Power systems that dwarfed even the largest Council stations flowed smoothly and without waste. The humans had not just left. They had advanced far beyond anything the galaxy could comprehend. Back on the Council's homeworld, species gathered in small groups, examining the human legacy. Every invention, every star route, every peace treaty humans had created was studied with reverence. Every generation of scientists marveled at the simplicity and brilliance of human design. Humans had taught the galaxy without ever asking for praise. They had solved problems others considered impossible, and left tools behind so others could continue. The human's message became the guiding principle for the Council. Stand alone, grow, and leave no species dependent forever. Even the young species, who had once mocked human impatience and curiosity, began to study them closely. There were stories told of human explorers who had crossed unstable wormholes, humans who had negotiated peace between warring worlds, humans who had created art that spoke to the heart of every species. Humanity's absence had made the galaxy feel fragile, but it had also left a spark. The Council understood that they were witnessing not a loss but a transition. Humans were no longer part of the galaxy in the ordinary sense. They had moved on. One of the most remarkable discoveries came from an ancient human station orbiting a quiet star in the outer rim. It contained a virtual archive, a repository of human knowledge, history, and culture. Species that had never thought they could understand human creativity now poured over it. They saw humans' ability to balance logic and emotion, strategy and kindness, ambition and humility. Humans had left lessons, not commands. They had taught the galaxy to solve problems, to innovate and to respect life, not through power, but through example. Scientists marveled at how humans had built self-repairing systems that required no constant intervention. Engineers studied spacecraft that could adapt to unknown environments without outside instruction. Diplomats studied humans' methods of negotiation, which relied less on threats and more on understanding. Every system humans left behind worked flawlessly, as if prepared for a galaxy that might fail without them. As decades passed, the story of humanity's departure became a legend. They were no longer seen as just a species. They were a standard, a goal, a vision. Young species dreamed of building even a fraction of what humans had accomplished. Some claimed that when human ships moved through deep space, they left subtle changes in the stars, rearranging energy flows so that life would always have a chance to flourish. Whether true or not, it became a story told to inspire courage and ingenuity. The Council learned humility. They realized that no matter how advanced a species might be, the smallest, most creative, most curious among them could leave the largest mark. Humans had been underestimated because they were small and physical, but their minds, their ideas, and their spirit had changed the galaxy forever. And yet, a question remained. Would the humans return? No one knew. Perhaps they would never return. Perhaps their journey had taken them beyond even the Milky Way, to galaxies yet unimagined, where their creativity and ambition could flourish without limits. But the Council hoped. The humans had left not out of malice, but out of purpose. They had departed to grow, to explore, to evolve. Their legacy was clear. They believed in the potential of every species. They had departed not to abandon the galaxy, but to show it what it could achieve. For the first time, the Council felt a mixture of pride and fear. Pride, because they had witnessed humanity's greatness. Fear, because they realized how much they depended on it. They had been given a glimpse of what a species could truly become when curiosity, courage, and cooperation worked together. And they knew that the galaxy, left without humans for the first time, had a long journey ahead. A journey toward standing alone, but stronger than ever. The humans' departure was silent. It left no destruction, no battlefields, no chaos, only the quiet echo of achievement, of lessons taught without words, and of an example that would guide the stars for millennia. Every species, even those once skeptical, knew one truth. Humanity had left a mark that could never be erased. And sometimes, when a probe drifted near the edge of known space, sensors would detect something faint, almost like a heartbeat, a reminder that humans were still out there, watching, learning, and growing. The galaxy was no longer theirs alone. It was a canvas waiting for every species to paint as humanity had painted it first.